the same situations constantly, but you don't find a repair for it, a healthy repair. Now, fixing myself is one thing, but there's nobody on the outside fixing me. So I'm thinking I'm repairing myself when in actuality I'm still hurting myself because I'm continuously picking up the same type of guys. So my last relationship, same thing. He was verbally abusive, but his verbal abuse and emotional abuse wasn't constant. It would be ever so often. So there was no consistency to it. However, the domestic violence came into play where we got into a verbal argument, and in the argument, I just snapped and I saw my previous relationship and I attacked him. Now we got into an altercation, and he became more violent and more aggressive than I was, which led into us going to court and everything to settle the whole situation. And I got counseling after that. And while I was receiving counseling, I went over every relationship, every issue that I had in my life, and realized that my issues with men did not start with men. It started with not having my father around. It started with the way I felt about the men that were already in my life. And I took that and tried to portray it onto all the men that I was in relationships with, wanting them to provide these things for me. And I can't ask somebody to give me something that I don't know I need to receive.
Okay, so let's let's recap the relationship. um, um, oh my gosh, I'm not sure if this thing was just recording, but so let's recap the relationships. Today has been a day. So the first relationship, you were 16 and
Hmm.
I was 27.
Hmm.
And that relationship only had, well, not only, that relationship was inclusive of the verbal abuse, the keeping you to himself, and all of that good stuff throughout a year and a half. And the reason why a 27-year-old had access to you is because your beautiful grandmother was raising you and your siblings, because your mother was away, um, away, and like most people that are raised by their grandparents, the grandparents, you get away with a lot more with your grandparents because they're not watching in the same way. And
Yeah.
so you were strong enough to leave that relationship because your little sister said, "Excuse me, sister, this is not what a relationship is supposed to look like. I don't think that makes sense." And you said, "I know, I think that's right. Let me leave him alone." So you left him alone
Yeah.
because you were just that strong. And then you got with another guy who was a friend first after college. And this is the person who was not so good. And he was both verbally abusive, but in a way, a competitive way. Can I ask you
Hmm.
a question?
Hmm.
Is he from, are you guys from the islands?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So that sounds exactly what happened, like that I hear a lot from the guys from the islands. And a reason why I personally never wanted to date a guy from the islands, because they're they're different. They're not like here. And I'm like, sir, I'm from here. Like, I'm no.
So
Okay,
you want
so
to
the
know something?
second guy.
So, well, with you saying that, I thought that same thing. My entire life it was American men will ill treat island women, so you must date your own. And when I went through those situations, those relationships with my own kind, and they treated me that way, that's when I branched out, which was relationship number three, and that was like the worst one. But I never, I wouldn't put it specifically on location. It's
Oh
how they
no.
were. Yep, it's how they were raised. And I realized
Hmm.
that with all the relationships that I've been in, they did not have fathers in their homes. And with them not having fathers in their homes, it's almost like they were spoiled rotten because their moms overcompensated for what the dad wasn't doing and spoiled them to the point where they wanted that same treatment from every female that they encountered. They spoke to their mothers ridiculously. And I'm saying this now that I have looked back on the relationship. They didn't respect their mothers. And if you're ever in a relationship with a man and he doesn't respect his mother, he will never respect you.
So now that brings a whole different perspective to this too. And um, I apologize. The stupid thing wasn't recording at the beginning, but girl, you got all the good stuff. You got all the good stuff. Let me tell you. So I feel like I'm just talking to my good girlfriend, and she's telling me, oh my gosh, like you probably could be in my group of sisters because these are the things that we talk about, but you just hit a nail on the head that a lot of people don't want to address, and you really don't want to say it to the man that you are dating or something like that, but it's the truth, right? So the girls, we will admit, okay, I could probably see where this ties into me not having a male in my life, and I can see how to fix that. But you very seldom find a man who will say, I'm actually really angry with my mom, or upset with my mom, or upset with my dad. And so this is why I treat women this way. They don't
Mhm.
admit it, and it's almost like you don't want to say it because like the mom, you can't touch the mom. But moms can make mistakes too, and especially with their sons. And like you said, because the dad is not in the home, the mother gives the son this role that they don't have. And
Mhm.
so in your I find in island culture, men, they are no, that's not even true. All the cultures, they treat their sons like babies and they cater to them and they allow them to get away with all this stuff and they bail them out, or they treat them like the man of the house, and then um the son doesn't know how to treat a woman because nobody's ever going to replace your mom. I need you, you're the man of the house type of thing. And they're really angry about other things and they take it out on their relationships, never addressing their mom.
Absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct.
That's what I think too. I do. And as a result, those of us that are also trying to deal with whatever we have to deal with from not having that other parent around, we're still just taking it though. So why is it
Mhm.
more emphasis? Why is the more responsibility on us, and we assume the responsibility as opposed to like making them own their stuff too?
I don't know. But what we do as females, we ignore all the signs because men show us exactly who they are. We ignore them. We mask them and we try to cover it up and say, okay, this is just today. He's having a bad day. Everybody has bad days, but every day isn't a bad day.
Right.
And when people show you who they are the first time, take heed, pay attention, and don't let the beginning become a habit.
Why do you think we don't pay attention?
It's because we want the best for that individual. I am guilty of that. I think I always ignore the signs because I always think there's better. And I keep waiting around for better, but better becomes worse. So if somebody shows me something bad today, I'm using today as just a bad day. And I know tomorrow is going to be a better day. Well, then tomorrow is a worse day. And I keep expecting better, but all it keeps doing is getting worse. And I am guilty of that. Now, I don't know if other people are looking at it that way, but I am.
I think we do. I just don't understand why we why we stay so long in anything that is unhealthy, be it a friendship, a relationship, um, a domestic violence relationship. Why do we stay that long? And for you, heck, you didn't. As soon as you, experienced the domestic
Yes.
abuse, is that the correct term?
Mm-hmm.
The domestic abuse piece, you were out of there. You didn't stay and you didn't deal with it. But like
When
you said,
domestic
you knew
violence
the
hit, I
signs
was
were
gone too.
there, um, but you still ignored them. Do you think in your relationship today, if you got a relationship today, that you would allow that same uh, flexibility or that same forgiveness?
No,
How do you
not.
know?
I won't. I have learned my boundaries.
Okay.
I have learned myself. So, me learning myself not only means trying to repair what I think is broken, but also capitalize on what I know is my strengths. So, I've learned myself inside and out. One thing I never put in place are boundaries, and I have put in place boundaries. So, the next person that walks into my life, I won't allow them to go so far. I will take heed of everything. So if your bad day is today, that's going to be the day that I remember forever because
Okay.
I'm not going to allow it to grow from there. If it has to escalate from there, then this is not the relationship for me because I can't keep allowing bad days.
Right. No, you're right. Hmm. Okay. So, what mm, what are some of the things that you think that people should pay attention to for, or young girls, even anybody, to pay attention to for signs that this person has the potential to do things we don't think they would do?
The tone in which he or she speaks to you in. That is the beginning because girls and guys both have this thing when they want to capture you, they talk
Mm-hmm.
to you in a specific tone. And once they have you, their tone changes. And depending on which level it changes in, you'll know what direction the relationship is going to go in.
You mean like how we speak to a baby when we want them to stop and we get stern, or at first they'll speak to you like mesmerizing, like trying to get like very sweet and honey and dear and like that, like trying to capture you?
Yep. And then as soon as they have you and you're where they want you to be, then it's the tone. Like, for instance, perfect example. In the beginning of most relationships, if you're talking to somebody and you call them, it's hi honey or hi babe, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
Once everybody's comfortable, the person that no longer wants to be in that relationship or they want to be in control of the relationship, when you call it, why are you calling me so much? What's the problem? The entire tone of the conversation changes. Mind, you're still doing the same actions you were doing from the beginning, but all of a sudden it's an issue.
Oh, wow. So almost like you're getting on their nerves.
Correct.
When do you think that point changes, when they start getting comfortable that they can just go back to really being who they are now? Like they're getting fed up with
Yeah,
being the fake person?
correct. See, I use the term as it's funny. My friends laugh at me when I say this. If you watch TV, you see the State Farm representative, right?
Right.
So when you enter a relationship, that's who you're gonna get. You're gonna get Mike from State Farm. Until you get in an
Right.
accident, you're gonna get the person you need to see to file your claim.
Right. It's so crazy because right before I got married, so almost all of the relationships that I was in prior to getting married, like mostly all of them ended up cheating. And it could be because I was like the type of person that, no, I'm not going to chase you down. If you say that you're going to be here at X time, then you're just going to be here. If not, then, I'm not going to be chasing you down in your business, begging you, like that type of thing. And so I feel like they got really comfortable in knowing that, oh, Asia's not even going to check. But I kind of feel like why do I have to check? I don't want to check. I just want to be in a relationship. So when before I got in this relationship too and married my husband, when I would date guys, I would tell them, like, I don't want you to tell me everything that's right with you. I actually don't want to meet your representative at all. I don't have time. I just want you to tell me everything that's wrong with you. Like, why did you break up with your last person? All of those kind of things would be the questions that I would ask, because to your point, the men they have representatives, and then the real person comes out, and I'm like, I don't want to meet the representative. Like, I really don't have time. I just want you to be who you are. So if you are nuts and you have a short temper or whatever it is, just tell me what that is, because nobody's perfect. And so, it's somebody out there for everybody. Now, I doubt that they're going to tell you that, oh, my last relationship ended for, domestic violence or anything like that. But even with those, because they're so cocky sometimes and they really believe that they're getting over, they'll blame it on the girl and say the girl was like that.
Correct.
And that's why, just in case, especially with social media now, just in case that girl is able to contact you and wants to tell you, get away from him, he's already laid the foundation for those things. And so if you pay attention close enough, you'll find some truth in what, they are willing to tell you, because most of them think that they are getting over, or, they think that they're better. They think that you're not that smart, or that you won't catch on, or whatever the situation is. They already think that. And so when they are dealing with you, they tell you things that they shouldn't be telling you, thinking that you're not really paying attention. Because to your point, we don't take it serious enough, like we should. They bank on that. They're not expecting that we do. And so I think that that's a really good thing that you have set up boundaries, because we usually don't. We're usually like, oh, I don't want to make this person mad, or it's not that serious, or, until it is serious. We don't do our part enough, and they know that, because they know, like, most people don't want to be alone. Most people want to experience things with someone. So even I know girls that would stay with guys they shouldn't stay with in high school, because it would be like, oh, well, prom is coming, or this dance is coming, or something like that. And it just gives them more power, and you take more than what you should in a relationship, period, because you're sacrificing yourself for this thing.
Something that you don't need. Life is so filled with excitement. And
Right.
What we have to understand is we can get excited just from a mere friendship. It doesn't even have to go any further, just a friendship.
Right.
Because you have so much freedom to be who you want to be by yourself. Now, not saying that you must remain single for the rest of your life, but in everything, you have to learn who you are, learn what you're willing to accept, and learn what you're able to give. Because also in relationships, you have to also be willing to give in order to receive. So you have to learn all those things before you open a door to somebody that's going to come in and try to disrupt that peace. Once you know who you are, you'll know when to put the flag up and say, up, that's it. I don't want it anymore. But if you don't know who you are, you accept anything because you allow that person to come in and manipulate everything that you think you already know.
Right. And that could be too that could be where, or that is where your friend that ended up dating your first boyfriend that you were with in high school, that is where she went wrong, so to speak. That is where she went wrong, because she should have taken a look at what was going on and what she didn't want and moved away from it, because she already saw it with you. So to then start dating your boyfriend, a very grown man, and not even walk into it prepared or whatever, that is kind of, that's the definition of insanity. That's the true definition of insanity. So, oh my goodness. So are there anything, is there anything else that you would want to share for someone more of the high school age, since you have that knowledge, more of the high school age of what
I would
not to do?
say when about 6 to 8 years ago, I used to be a teacher in high school. And the biggest conversation that we would have, which was every Friday, I would shut down normal lessons specifically, and I used to call it life skills. We talked about what everybody is going through, both male and female, and we try to fix
Okay.
it. And the one thing that I noticed is that everybody wants to be accepted. And that was the one thing that made me different from everybody else that I went to school with, because I did not want to be accepted.
Really?
I did not want to be accepted. I didn't want to be a part of the norm. I always wanted to be different. And that's what I think everybody should shoot for. Shoot for being different. You don't ever want to be like your group of friends. Be the different person, because the different person becomes the leader. The leader always succeeds. Shoot to be different.
Right.
There's always one thing within us that makes us different from everybody else that we hang around with. It could be the talents that we have. It could be the intelligence level. Like some people are really smart in math. Some people are really smart with science. It could be what you're good at. I might be good at cooking. You might be good at doing hair. Somebody else might be good at doing makeup. Those things that makes us different makes the friendship itself stronger, but it makes the group stand up.
You're right. So you're telling the youth to really focus on, because we all have things that are alike, and that is okay. But your suggestion and your feedback is to focus on that thing that makes you different, because that's
Yep.
your, your divine purpose. That's what makes you unique.
Correct.
So focus on doing that instead of focusing on the thing that everybody is doing, um, because that's kind of like the foundation or the base for everything. You don't
That is
want to
correct.
focus on that. That's
No.
regular.
Yep.
Okay. That's a really good one. That's a really good one too, because most people are looking um to fit in and be accepted. But if you take a step back and look at people that have done things that are completely different, um, they're actually the one, they stand out too. And so then they become the norm and they create a trend or something like that off of stepping out and being seen, because they are different.
Exactly.
Yeah, that gets some more attention if that's what people are looking for. But that's what gets people, where they want to be, is their ability to stand out and be different,
When you
not
are
the
who you
ability,
want to
not the
be,
ability to perform.
yeah, when you are who you want to be, who you need to be, what your, like you said, your divine purpose is, you will attract the perfect people. The people
Mhm.
that's supposed to be in your life, you will attract. You wouldn't have to go look for them. They're going to come and look for you.
That is so true. Mm. So now I have another question. So to go back to where this all started, um, as far as the domestic violence topic, I do have a question now that you brought that out, and I don't think we addressed it. So I'm glad we're back on track now. I have the question that I have is that, do you think that certain people, like that guy, do you think that he looked for you? Do you think that you attracted him?
I think I did. I think I did.
How do you think that you did that? So how do you think that um a younger person or any of us will attract someone like that?
So it's what you're willing to accept. And I will say that over and over again because every attraction starts with a conversation. And
Okay.
the feedback that you give within that conversation triggers hair points on the other person that tells them, okay, this is what I want or this is not what I want. And I think that I attracted him to me by giving him what he wanted in the first conversation that we had. It opened every door that he needed open. Okay, she's weak. I can manipulate her. I can, people ask questions, and the questions that they ask, we might look at them as they're just questions, but they're asking them for a reason. And the reason behind them, it might have another ulterior motive. You never know what somebody has up their sleeve, which is why you can never literally know who you're dealing with. That's why I say take care of yourself first. Know who you are, know who you're willing to be, know what you're willing to accept. Make sure you put your boundaries in place so if an individual like that comes along and they start trying to send out their little antennas to figure out who you are, you know what you're willing to accept. So when certain questions come up and they arise, then your antenna will be like, dee, 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 dee. Nope, this is not the one for me, you know?
Right. Right. And I wonder, tell me what you think about this. I think that some people, like you said, you never know until it happens, but I think that a tell all is I could tell it based on follow-up questions. So that's what I look for. So your initial question might not raise an eyebrow for me, but your follow-up question might raise an eyebrow for me because, like, if I ask you, oh, do you really like dogs? And you say no, and I say, well, were you bitten by a dog when you were younger? That will lead me to believe that you're thinking about something medical, right? Because it's a regular question, so it can't really lead to anything. Is it something medical? Or if I say, girl, did you sue? Now, that might be somebody that's money hungry, or it might be somebody that's invested in law because of the follow-up question. You know what I mean, right? So sometimes when you're dating and they ask you particular questions with the follow-up questions and the thing that they're focused on within that the most is what kind of is a driver for me. So if they know you come from a troubled background and then they start asking you how troubled it is, like who's there for you? Oh, you don't have anybody. Oh, you're able to do whatever you want to do. Like they're trying to see how vulnerable you are and how much access that they have to you. You know what I mean?
You're right.
Like, yeah, that's what I have noticed with relationships as well. And it's not just for relationships where they are domestically violent. It could be for a relationship where they are not committed and all they're looking for is things they shouldn't be looking for in a relationship. They have no interest in you, so to speak. Or if they want to know the material things that you have. So it's not just for this particular topic, but I think that it translates into every area of dating or friendships where people are only in it to get what they want and be manipulators. They're users.
Correct.
Okay. Well, is there any part of your story from the beginning that you would like to recap? Since unfortunately we did not get it on tape. What we have is plenty, but what you shared was so amazing that if you want to go back and tell any of it, we definitely have time.
I would say, in recapping this entire conversation, which is eventually one day I'm going to put it all in a book for people to read.
Well, they need to.
Recapping the whole thing is always be aware. Don't allow your situation, no matter how good or how bad it is, to determine your future. Don't allow what anybody on the outside wants to put in to make you who you are. And relationships are really, really open to that, especially if it's a toxic relationship where your partner, your other half, pays attention to your weaknesses. Don't ever let anybody else know your weaknesses stronger than you.
Yes. Yes, that is a good one. That is a really good one. No, you should not be exposing all of your information. Um, and that's, you know what, that becomes really difficult when you become an adult because, we're taught to completely trust the person that we marry and all of that good stuff. And so you are supposed to be able to talk to your spouse about any and everything that is bothering you. Um, but for me, I feel like until you are in a place where you are strong in that place, I would get professional help before I would just tell someone every single thing. You know what I mean? And it's sad that you have to think that way because I am married. And my husband knows a lot, but I had help before I started just telling people what things were bothering me that I identified because I needed to be able to have control of them or at least know what they were so then nobody could turn around and use it against me.
And you're right about that because I've had things that was done to me as a child that kind
Mm-hmm.
of paved the pathway for me growing up. And these are things that my parents and stuff didn't find out until maybe 2 years ago. And remember, I'm 34 years old. And it
Right.
hurt them that I held this secret from them for so long. But like I explained to them, I don't know if telling the truth would actually solve a problem or make it worse. And
Right.
me opening up came from me getting professional help. You know,
Mm-hmm.
when I was in high school and stuff, my grandma took me to 5 different counselors. Now, one thing that I don't know if it happens for everybody, but for me, I wouldn't speak to people unless I felt like I could trust them. Within the first 5 minutes, I'll know if I can trust them to open up or if they're
Mm-hmm.
actually listening or paying attention. And the counselors that I had, her entire day.
Uh-oh, you're cutting out a little bit.
Is it better now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay, so you said the counselor that you had was a no.
yeah, well, the first one, because I had 5. The first one I had, she made me feel like I was disturbing her entire day. The
Oh,
second one I
wow.
had, yeah, the second one I had, to me, it felt like every phone conversation was more important than what I was talking about. The third one, it was all about money. If you couldn't pay, she didn't want to listen. The fourth one, she was more determined to put me into the system. So it wasn't about what my issues were. It was you just had an issue and you should be in the system. And the fifth one, who was actually a school counselor, realized that, okay, Azure has really good grades, but she has a really bad attitude. There's something in there that's not clicking. How can you have a child that has really good grades but a real bad attitude and nobody's trying to figure out why? And
Right.
she would sit and talk to me about just simple things. It always started off as a small conversation, just like, well, how are you liking English class? Or what don't you like about English? Well, according to your English teacher, you have a bad mouth. What's wrong with it? And those things escalated to bigger conversations, which eventually got me comfortable speaking to her.
She built your trust first
Yeah, she did.
and asked you very specific questions instead of saying, like, I can't believe you did. Instead of accusing, she asked, well, what happened that would make you do this?
Hmm.
And it
Hmm.
showed that the person cared.
And to this very day, her and I have an awesome relationship.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's really important too. There's so many aspects of what domestic violence or all of that looks like, because there's so many layers to it. Like you said, somebody paying attention, especially to you as a kid, and saying, you know, this doesn't make sense. If she's doing this and this, is anybody asking her? Is anybody paying attention to this over here? Because this does not look right. Is anybody talking? You have to communicate. You have to talk to people before you just accuse them of things, because if you want them to open up, you have to make them feel comfortable. Otherwise, they don't want to talk to you. And it's for good reason. You know, they're not comfortable with you. You have to make somebody comfortable first, especially when we're dealing with youth. We have to make them feel comfortable that when they come to us, that we will not necessarily have the right answers, but be able to care for them in the way that they expect us to, because they're looking to be saved almost.
Correct.
They're looking to be saved, and that is what they consider our responsibility. But that wrong conversation, that wrong move, losing their trust too soon, oh boy, that will turn it.
Yes, I dealt with students between the ages of 14 and 18 when I taught, and the wrong body language would send off the worst signal ever. Even if you're listening, if you even just give a twitch of an attitude, that whole person shuts down.
Yep.
So you start a conversation and you can think it's going somewhere, and you just lean too far to the left as if you don't care, they're not going to open up anymore.
Because they feel like maybe you think it's a joke, or you're not paying attention, or they're wasting your time. Or heck, even that your attention is divided. And if divided attention is the reason why they have done some of the things that they have done, then they certainly don't need divided attention while they're trying to tell you that they need your help.
Correct.
So you have to pay attention if we want to help these kids, or to help people in general. Because everybody wants to, at this point, like you said, be heard, and everybody wants to know that whatever they're going through matters, and that the person that they are trusting to actually open up to cares. That's what they want to know. Is there any other feedback or any other information that you can give us from working with the younger kids that you would help?
Yeah, from working with younger kids, even younger kids themselves. Pay attention to your friends, because they're trying to tell you something. And because you're so caught up in everything else, you're missing the important thing that they're trying to tell you. Everybody is going through something, and they always need that shoulder to lean on. So just pay attention to your peers. That would save a lot of lives, a lot of bullying, a lot of suicides, a lot. It saves just listening.
Just paying attention. The same thing. Literally, it just sounds so easy. Like, if you just would have paid attention, you would have saw this. If you just would have did that. I wonder if, I don't know, do kids have homeroom anymore? You know, the class that you go to that you don't necessarily do anything?
When I taught, they did. And they even changed it into a reading class when I taught high school, because in the school I taught, they said that the students' reading level was like on a third grade level. So I turned it into more of a comprehension class, where I would have then not only, I didn't give them the work that the curriculum designed. I designed my own thing, because I'm like, I'm not going to take high school students and then tell them they need to be reading third grade work. I'm not doing that. So I gave them like quotes, which is where my whole positive messages thing came from. I gave them quotes, and then had everybody read and break it down to what they understood it to be. And then as a class, we would discuss, well, why do you think this is, why did you interpret it this way? Or why did you, because everybody interprets messages differently. And I learned so much, not only from the students, but from myself, because a lot of the quotes I read them differently from what the students interpreted it from. And I'm like, I like the way you think. I didn't think of it that way. So that is one way to open up the door of listening because you have to read through the subliminal messages.
I think that's a phenomenal idea because you're right. In order to understand where someone is coming from, you have to understand first how they think. And if
Correct.
there's going to be somebody in your life that you're impacting their life and having a hand in it, then you have to get in a position where you can understand different things. That way you can see signs and stuff like that and what's going on. Otherwise, you will, excuse me, totally miss it. And kids do need to start paying attention to one another. That way they can help each other and have, real friendships, like kind of like, well, what I did when I was growing up. So I actually had real friendships. I was very blessed. My relationships last through today. So I was very blessed in that area. But we also didn't have the distraction of social media and things like that,
Hmm.
where people are faking it till they make it, I guess is what they say, and not and not being willing to be completely vulnerable and tell the truth so that people can know if something is going on and attention is needed. But that is a really good area and to focus on. And as I start working with some of these schools, that is something that I am going to suggest that they implement, and I am going to start doing it as well because that's the fastest way to get to where I've been trying to go. So I just spend a lot of time with them and try to see how they behave and all of that. But in reality, that is the long route when I could do what you suggested, and that is actually better. And so I will be implementing that in my program as well because it makes sense.
Good.
Yes. So thank you very much for joining today. I look forward to speaking with you some more. Thank you again for sharing your story. For the most part, they got to hear all of it. Oh my gosh, they got to hear all of it. And really good stuff, totally different perspective, totally different perspective. So your story is very different. And again, I'm very proud of you. I look forward to us building our relationship together.
Yes, I
And
do too.
that is it. So if we are done, I am going to stop the recording. So hold on just a second, okay?
Okay.
Okay.